As far back as our school's records show, our graduation banquets have hosted great guest speakers from the officer and enlisted ranks. While these leaders have provided us with their amazing personal stories and many lessons learned, the cadre realized that our students also have words of wisdom and stories of triumph to be told. This evening, we invite you to listen to our very first student guest speaker, Senior Airman Anthony Cardoza. Senior Airman Cardoza. Senior Airman Cardoza is a member of Glowmaster Flight and is assigned to the 821st Contingency Response Squadron. You will find a spotlight on Senior Airman Cardoza in tonight's program. Ladies and gentlemen, Senior Airman Anthony Cardoza.
You're a little taller than me.
Good evening. I am Senior Airman Cardoza of the 821st CRS. First, I'd like to say that it is an exceptional honor to be able to speak in front of all of you as a First Airman. When I was presented with the opportunity to write this speech, I was told the topic was, why did I join and why do I serve? Well, I'll be the first to tell you that I don't have years of experience, nor do I have a cool acronym or 5 steps to success. However, what I do have is a tale of selfishness, a road to redemption, and how no one is truly a lost cause. I joined because my stepfather's grandfather served during Vietnam in an elite Marine unit that later became a component of MARSOC. This man had an aura that you could feel across the room. Everyone that ever met him revered and respected him. He was the man. He used to talk about wanting to go to a heaven meant for warriors, and he would preach about how everyone should try to be a little bit stronger every day. That was an ideology that I wanted, but he lived. So he inspired me to want to be a PJ, but I lacked the physical fitness and the mental strength it took to accomplish such a goal. So the Air Force had made me a port dog. No big deal, I thought. I'll cross-train and be in Medina in no time. But I was wrong. When I got to my first duty station, Spangdahl in Germany, I was told it'd be no less than 3 years before I could apply, and even then, good luck trying. So I felt stuck, and I was mad, and I tried every day to find a loophole, researching tons of regs, and when that failed, I started looking at different programs like palace chasing, applying for blue to green. I even applied for a conditional release to join the Marines. All of those failed. But you know what I didn't do? I didn't open my CDCs, learn my job, volunteer, or even talk to my supervisor. Because I wasn't about those things. I wasn't about them, the Air Force, or my coworkers. All I cared about was me. I was a selfish fool, a little boy wearing a man's uniform. When I found out that there was no cheat code that would give me a beret, I stopped caring about everything. All I cared about was drinking and partying. I wasn't even training for the job I was supposedly so obsessed with getting. And my leadership noticed that. I became a bona fide DVA, and I'd show up to work hungover, unmotivated, untrained, and uncaring. In less than a year, I had burnt every bridge I had from my supervisor up to my first sergeant. At one point, I even had the dorm president, the dorm manager, and the first sergeant pounding on my dorm door at 07 a.m. on a Sunday because of a dorm party I had thrown the night before. And then the incident happened. I was pulling out of a parking spot in a six-packs truck when I skidded across a bobtail next to me. I got out and the bobtail was fine, but the truck had a computer monitor-sized dent in the side of it. I looked at it, and I thought maybe no one will notice. And I drove back to the shop and didn't tell a soul. 2 weeks went by, and my VCO noticed the dent, started asking about it. Where did this dent come from? What dent? I asked, like it doesn't look like Thor just teed off on the side of the truck. Check and see who signed the 1800 last, he tells me. It was my best friend, Riley. Shockingly, at the time, I had the integrity to come out for what I did and not let him go down for my mistake, and they immediately took me to security forces. The entire time, my VCO and my NCOIC sitting in the vehicle with me were coaching me through what to do because I'm probably getting an article for a hit and run. And this, what I thought was, I really did it this time. This was it. My actions had led me to this, and I had no one to blame but myself. So we get there, and the cops take me to an office, and I just wait. It turns out it was their master sergeant's office. And he came in already looking mad and like he wanted to drop the hammer on me. That's when my NCOIC called out and said, "Hey, don't I know you from somewhere?" After some quick back and forth, it turned out the two knew each other. They had been deployed to Iraq together as airmen about 8 years prior and hadn't seen each other. Just by happenstance, my stupidity had brought them back together in this moment. They caught up for a moment, and after, the master sergeant looked at my NCOIC and said, "Well, ordinarily we would treat this as a hit and run and throw the book, but no one's reported any damage, so we're going to let the shop handle this." So we leave and drove back to the shop in complete silence. Now, what I haven't told you yet is just a few days prior to this incident, I had switched supervisors. I was now the first troop of a senior airman named Kevin Dunn, who had just graduated ALS and was currently on leave. We hadn't even had an ACA yet, and he had no idea any of this was happening. But he came in early from leave the next day because he wanted to handle his troop. The next morning, he called me into my NCOIC's office and closed the door. He explains that they wanted to make an example out of me, but he said no. And he gave me an LOR, which, considering the circumstances, I was relieved to receive an LOR. I don't think there's ever been an airman as excited to sign an LOR as I was in that moment. But I sign it, and I turn to leave, and Dunn says, "No, Cardoza, we're not finished yet." And I turn around, he takes his top off, instructs me to do the same. This was called a shirts off meeting. No rank, no regs, just me and him, man to man. He pulled out the ACA I had signed when I first got to the unit with my prior supervisor. Started reading off the goals that I wrote. Save money and build a savings account. Have you done that? No, I haven't. Score a 95 or above on your PT test. Did you do that? Again, no. Become an Air Force combat controller. That's a pretty steep goal. Do you think you have what it takes? Without hesitation, I said yes. And he said, "How?" I was confused as to what he meant, so I asked him to elaborate. He said, "Those are men who are in top physical condition and possess extreme mental strength. And they put 100% of themselves into everything they do. They're elite. How can you be elite when right now you're struggling to be mediocre?" Those words cut like a knife, but they were exactly what I needed to hear in that moment. He said, "This could have been the end of you. They wanted it to be the end of you. But I'm not having my first troop go down the first week that I'm his supervisor. This isn't you. I've seen the real you when you're not screwing off. The SEER guy that you and Riley volunteer with praised both of your work ethics and your willingness to learn." I was shocked that he knew this, because I hadn't told anybody that I volunteered with him. But the SEER specialist, Technical Sergeant Murphy, was sending emails every time we went to volunteer with him. And Dunn read every single one of those emails. When you're passionate about something, you put forth full effort, and I want to motivate you to bring passion into everything you do. He told me, "I don't PCS for another year, so be ready for me to be on you every single day until then." And he was right. Right up until the day he left, Dunn mentored and sat with me, helping me get motivated again. He got me back in shape, got me in contact with POCs for my dream, and built me into the airman that I am now. And once I left Germany, that same NCOIC told me he pulled my LOR from my PIP because it no longer reflected who I had become, saying I pulled in a complete 180. And that's why I serve. I serve because I want to be for someone else what Kevin Dunn was for me. A leader, a mentor, and when I needed it, a friend. No one is truly a lost cause. Sometimes all it takes is one good leader to set somebody straight. Now, I've met a lot of good leaders here at ALS, and I have a challenge for you. Keep your high level of motivation and professionalism. Don't fall into the trap of complacency. We live in a time where trying and putting forth pride in your work is a bad thing, and you're labeled as a tryhard because you don't fit into others' laziness. In a time where mediocrity is not only the status quo but is rewarded, be a tryhard. The Air Force needs effective leaders, and it can't waste time with people who are comfortable with the bare minimum. You owe it to your airmen, yourself, and the American people that you have sworn to protect to put 100% effort into what you do. And if in doing that you get labeled as a tryhard, then that's fine. Wear that label with pride. You were so motivated and you outperformed someone so bad, they had to express that they were not only not trying, but you're a bad guy for not sinking down to their level. And even when you're in a spot where all your peers are skating and you're the only one trying, it's easy to fall to their level. I challenge you not to. Instead, set the bar. Leave, follow, or get out of the way. Your peers will choose one. They'll either rise to your level or they'll fall by the wayside. The nail that sticks out gets struck. Good. It'll give you a chance to break the hammer. I'm not asking you all to be perfect. There are times when you will trip and fall. What I am asking is that you pick yourself up, own your failure, triple down on your weaknesses, and re-engage the situation. Do that, and just like my grandfather, you'll get a little bit stronger every day. Which leads me to my final thought, a question that I'd like to ask the room. Could you today beat you yesterday? Never give up on your airman and never stop trying. Thank you.
We've had some really great guest speakers at the senior NCO level at ALS, and I will tell you, I would put that up against any one of them.
Yeah!
And that's why we looked at doing this, is change the pace a little bit to add the story of one of our airmen that can motivate not just their classmates that are here tonight, but every single one of us. And I will tell you, thank you for sharing your story. It's a great, motivating story, and I will tell you, I would work for you any day, and absolutely any day. Your airmen are lucky to have you and all of your classmates as their supervisor, because there's no doubt, after spending some time with them earlier this week, that we have the right individuals coming out of this class to train the leaders of tomorrow, and you guys are absolutely fantastic. And I want to give you one of my coins and say thank you.